The movie begins with showcasing several American Special Forces members on their way to an island owned by a Russian illegal arms dealer. Their objective is to rescue a recently captured CIA member among the criminals. Among them is Kine, a member with expertise in directing various air support, such as drones or fighter jets. Bishop, another member, mentions that this mission will be on a different level, so Kine needs to position himself accordingly. During the journey, they successfully land on the island and make contact with 2 drone pilots stationed at the base who will monitor them from the air. The target location is about 10 kilometers from the landing point, so Kine and his team must walk for several hours to reach it. Along the way, Kine starts to get acquainted with the other team members, feeling somewhat inferior as they are highly experienced in completing various missions. After a while, they arrive at the enemy base, where they observe heavily armed guards. The focus of this mission is to rescue Sandra without unnecessary casualties, so Sugar, the team leader, directs them to spread out to analyze enemy movements. Shortly after, the arms dealer, the owner of the island, appears, seemingly relaxed with his family. However, the situation takes a turn when armed forces, identified as wanted terrorist Hashimi's group, arrive, engaging in a large-scale transaction. Suddenly, control of the island is seized by the terrorists, and the arms dealer's family is killed one by one, shocking everyone, including 2 drone operators witnessing the massacre. When the arms dealer's child is about to be killed, Sugar and the team decide to launch an attack, starting with Bishop using a sniper, followed by drone airstrikes. Fortunately, the small child managed to escape, but unfortunately, the problem is not yet resolved because Kine is in a disadvantageous position. Right below the building where he's hiding, there's a door leading to a cave that serves as the terrorists' headquarters. When their position is compromised, a shootout ensues, and despite their exceptional skills, they manage to eliminate several enemies. However, as more enemies arrive, one of them gets hit by multiple shots and cannot be saved. With no time to mourn, as the enemy keeps firing RPGs at them, Sugar instructs Kine to call for air support. Moments before the enemy is hit by the airstrike, they manage to fire an RPG towards Bishop. Unfortunately, Kine is unable to save his friends as he continues to be under relentless enemy fire. During his escape, he even slips from the edge of a cliff. Eventually, when he distances himself from the enemy's position, he tries to communicate with the 2 drone operators. Let's get acquainted with them first. One is named Captain Russell, and his assistant is named Chica. Russell, upon learning of Kine's situation, immediately arranges an evacuation plan and advises Kine, who can't believe he's the sole survivor. As they move forward, Kine encounters more enemies, but they're just a few terrorists on a supply mission. However, one of the guard dogs discovers Kine's position, but fortunately, the terrorists don't suspect anything. The pickup location is kilometers away, and as they journey towards it, Russell and Kine get to know each other. It turns out they're from the same city, and through their conversation, the film provides detailed insights into Russell, who is a senior figure in the Air Force, having often rejected promotions because as a high-ranking officer, he wouldn't receive additional bonuses which he needs to support his family, especially his children. In short, when they arrive at the pickup location, it's already dark, but communication between Kine and the helicopter pilot is established. Russell, using the drone's view, ensures the landing area is clear of enemies. However, just as Kine is about to be evacuated, a lucky shot is deflected by his bulletproof vest, exposing his position, making the helicopter a target. Unable to withstand the attacks, the helicopter pilot postpones the evacuation. Now alone, Russell attempts an airstrike, but the drone's missile supply is limited. More enemies converge on the location. Despite causing significant casualties with airstrikes, they're not eliminated entirely. Russell requests fighter jet support, launching multiple dangerous attacks at Kine's request, given his proximity to the strike zone. Once the situation is secure, Kine is directed to a new pickup location, slightly distant but elevated. After a brief rest, as daylight breaks, Kine continues his journey. Unfortunately, he accidentally falls down a slope, losing his primary weapon. Chica warns him of approaching enemies, leaving Kine with only a pistol. To evade capture, he jumps off a cliff and hides behind a waterfall until the enemies leave, but his strategy is discovered, leading to his capture. However, someone swiftly rescues him, none other than Sugar, who managed to survive the RPG attack. With no time to reunite, Sugar informs Kine that they must hurry to rescue Bishop, currently held captive underground.
Bishop's in trouble. We gotta go back and get him. Let's go.
The land, on the other hand, is now held by the terrorists. Russell tirelessly searches for Kine, extremely worried and not resting at all, even after his shift has ended. Eventually, when almost desperate, Kine manages to establish communication with the central headquarters using a makeshift antenna from an old bottle. Once connected, Russell quickly arranges an evacuation operation for the two of them. However, Kine explains that they still need to rescue Bishop, whom he called for air support, planning to drop 2 light explosives to divert enemy attention, followed by a main bomb to destroy the terrorists' cave headquarters. After providing bombing coordinates, their communication is cut off due to the depleted power supply. Meanwhile, Russell is ordered by his superior to rest after operating the drone for 10 hours nonstop, but he refuses, even daring to defy his superior to ensure Kine's safety. In short, the operation begins, with the two infiltrating the enemy base and taking down guards without using weapons to avoid detection. However, things get complicated as enemies keep emerging unexpectedly. Sugar and Kine fight desperately to overcome the two enemies in a house, but Kine is forced to release a shot, attracting more enemies. They almost die in the ensuing firefight, with Sugar getting wounded. After being stripped of their clothes, Sugar, Kine, and Bishop are thrown into an underground prison together, reuniting in dire conditions, especially Sugar, who is severely injured. Kine panics when he realizes that a bombing raid is imminent, fearing the cave they're in will be destroyed. Despite his warnings, the terrorists begin executing them one by one, starting with Sugar. Next in line for execution is Kine, but before that, the terrorists interrogate him. They realize a fighter jet is still flying over the island, suspecting the presence of another team. Hasimi, the terrorist leader, tortures Kine for information until, feeling deceived, orders his men to drown Kine. However, simultaneously, the first airstrike begins, filling the cave with fire from the explosion. Luckily, Kine is in the water and survives. The interval between attacks is 15 minutes, so Kine must escape quickly. Fortunately, most guards are severely injured and unable to resist. While searching for an exit, Kine encounters the primary target from their mission and cannot leave without rescuing Bishop. Returning to the room he was held in, Kine finds Hasimi, who survived the blast. They engage in a brutal fight, with Kine ultimately killing Hasimi. Kine then frees Bishop with only 5 minutes left before the next bomb drops. Using a satellite phone stolen from Hasimi, Kine tries to contact Russell's base. However, the cave's signal interference causes difficulties, and when he finally connects, the soldier who answers is distracted, watching a basketball game. Russell, on the other hand, is at a supermarket, thinking he can focus on his wife's impending birth now that his shift is over. When Kine's call comes in, he initially rejects it as an unknown number. But after receiving a text from Kine, with only 2 minutes left, Russell panics and rushes to seek help from his colleagues at the central base, but his calls go unanswered.
We have visual 5. Phone 01, abort! You
His friend, who controlled the drone earlier, was puzzled by Russell's behavior when he forcefully took his radio until he realized they almost killed the soldiers in the field. As a gesture of gratitude, he raised his hand to the sky, aware that Russell was watching over them from the monitor. Following this incident, Russell, known for his patience, decides to teach a lesson to those guarding the base, including his superior. Understandably emotional, some soldiers sacrifice their lives for their country, while others are engrossed in watching TV. Kine and his friend are successfully evacuated from the cursed island, albeit acknowledging the loss of their 2 friends in this mission. Bishop, who initially underestimated Kine's abilities, now looks at him with pride. Additionally, the success of the mission is attributed to Russell's extraordinary performance, earning him Chica's admiration as an exceptional mentor. That night, before going home, she asks Russell to be her escort at her wedding next week, concluding the film.